YouTube.
Does anybody
All right.
need an agenda? Mike, do you need an agenda?
I get hat head. I believe I do.
It's the hair.
Good evening and welcome to the August 5th, 2021 meeting of the Litchfield Conservation Commission. I'll call this meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Let's do a roll call of members. I'll start and then we'll move counterclockwise. Matt Lepore, Chairman.
Joan McKibben, Vice Chair.
Kevin Lynch, Selectman's Rep.
Michael Proto, member.
Jason Brennan, member.
Harry Manzigian, member.
Luanna Balmer, alternate.
Diane Plansky, Secretary.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 7. All right, we have a full board, so we will not be appointing any alternates this evening. Is there any public input related to non-agenda items? All right. Hearing none, let's go right into business. So first up for meeting etiquette, our meetings have been running pretty late. I think for the past three or four meetings, they've been going past 9 p.m., over 3 hours long. So just for the sake of time, I just wanted to ask everybody to, make sure when we're having discussions, let's just be concise, stick to the subject matter, and keep your questions quick and as grouped together as possible. So that, whoever you're speaking with can kind of answer them all at once, so we're not having this big back and forth. Otherwise, let's get into the second order of business, declaration of covenants and restrictions for conservation purposes, Brookfield Acres.
Oh.
Would you gentlemen please introduce yourselves?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Morgan Hollis. I'm an attorney at Gottesman and Hollis in Nashua, 39 East Pearl Street. And I'm here representing John Noseworthy, trustee of the McQuestion Family Revocable Trust, and also with me is Rick Charbonneau. This is about a set of declaration of covenants and restrictions for conservation purposes, which were placed on the property identified as lot 14-50, which is an open space lot from a subdivision. And it might be easiest, we have a set of plans that we're going to reference if we can pass them out.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hey, Rick. You want to share? Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, this is a set of subdivision plans that were approved by the planning board. And there have been several highlights imposed. But if you look at the first page, it will sort of set up the situation. This was proposed and approved as an open space lot at the meeting of November 5th, 2019 of the planning board. And the minutes of the planning board reflect that there was some discussion about this particular lot called the 16th lot. It will be deeded, there will be a deed restricted, a non-livable lot, but possible barn and agriculture use in the future. And then the comment was that a driveway and a barn are allowable in lot 16 per zoning on the designated open space. The lot does not need to be deeded to the town. A deed restriction is to designate open space. The ordinance designates or open space in perpetuity, and town council and planning board will review and approve the deed restrictions for the open space. They'll be held privately with rights to put a barn on that parcel. The plan should be updated to say agricultural easement on lot 16. So we then, and I wasn't part of the planning board process, but I had the minutes and certainly worked with the engineer. And the engineer presented the plan, and my client asked me if I would prepare a declaration of covenants and restrictions, which I have done. It was approved by the town council and was put on record. Subsequent to that, the lots have begun to be developed and conveyed out, as you know, and we have this open space lot remaining. And what has come up in review of what this property may be used for is a question of interpretation on the open space restrictions and the reservation of rights in the Declaration of Covenants. And without being too legal about it, I'll just summarize it to say that the property is preserved in perpetuity as open space, but there were certain reserved reservations of rights. It was supposed to be used only for agriculture. And so the declarant reserved for itself and its successors the right to use the property for agricultural activities, including animal husbandry, floricultural, and horticultural activities, production of plant and animal products for domestic or commercial purposes, growing, stocking, cutting, and sale of Christmas trees or forest trees of any size capable of producing timber or other forest products, and the processing and sale of products produced on the property, such as pick-your-own fruits and vegetables and maple syrup. Provided, however, no such use shall be allowed within the portion of the property identified as proposed area of deed restriction, as shown on the plan. Declarant also reserved the right to construct and maintain structures used for agricultural and/or conservation purposes, such as a barn or ancillary structure, a walking trail, bridge, culverts, etc., subject to the approval of the planning board, and provided they are not detrimental to the scenic, historic, and wildlife protection purposes of this declaration. A septic system serving the permitted structure shall be allowed subject to the approval of the planning board. So the intent was you can put a structure that supports agricultural activities, and the reservations are on the lot except for the area identified as proposed area of deed restrictions. We then look at the plan, and what has occurred is if you look at the area marked in yellow, this is the controversial area. There is shading on page 1 of the plan, which shows some dots and some wetland symbols. So that gives you the identification of the area of the wetlands, and of course the words proposed area of deed restriction. If you go to page, which one? The second page of your set, which is page 5 on the recorded set in the registry, but it's the second page. You can see where the conundrum comes in a bit in the question of interpretation. It is proposed area of deed restriction on the far right corner, and then you have the line of the wetlands and the wetlands buffers. And you can see that there are wetland symbols in the area of the deed restriction, but the dots carry over, and the dots essentially go all the way up to the area of what's identified as reserved easement area. That's the former railroad. The applicant had given an easement, agreed to an easement in case sometime down in the future, the town ends up being able to get a walking trail along the former railroad. Currently, that's going to be difficult because to the north and to the south, there is no easement. So we don't know what'll happen, but the easement's there. The question has come up, can we grow crops and use it for agricultural purposes and or put the building as indicated in the area easterly of the former railroad right-of-way, which has dots, but it's outside of the wetland area. And my interpretation was always that the intent of the planning board, the intent of the applicant was anything that's been farmed could continue to be farmed. And the area outside the wetlands should not be used for, inside the wetlands should not be used for agricultural, but the area outside could be. But I can also see how someone is looking at the plan and saying, well, anything with dots on it would be proposed deed restriction area. And so what I've suggested is if you looked at the reserved rights, which I just read, 3A and 3B, 3B says the declarant has the right to put structures, and it doesn't say not in the area of the proposed deed restrictions, but it leaves it to the planning board. If you look at the plan, you will see the area of building is outlined, and it includes a portion of the property within the dotted area. There's no legend on the plan what the dotted means, so I will take the responsibility that I misunderstood the plan. The proposed area for restriction was anything within the wetlands. But I think it's fair that some people are reading it to say, no, that means anything with dots is the restricted area. That would include area which is currently not in the wetlands and currently farmed, and also within a building box area, as I would refer to it. So I suggested that my client should go to the planning board, get some clarification of this, because it was a planning board approval. Planning board's lawyer approved the documents, but it's really the planning board who said this is what they want. After talking with my client about it, we also thought it made sense to come here because my experience in Litchfield is anything to do with conservation lands, the planning board would like to hear from the Conservation Commission as to what they think. Also, it may mean that we will ultimately, because it is a declaration of covenants and restrictions to the town, we may need to end up at the selectmen's board and to present to them what we're doing and get their consent that it's okay. So we're here this evening saying there's a question of interpretation. We would like to get your consent that you don't have objection to an interpretation that anything outside of the wetlands can be grown for crops. That's really what it boils down to. And then that will allow us to go to the planning board and they can decide what they want to do. But if you all feel like you shouldn't have agriculture or crops where it currently is, you can, this is the perfect example. You can see where the crops grow and where they stop, and you can see where the wetland is. So I kind of throw that out to all of you and happy to answer any questions. I think the plans are pretty clear what we're looking for.
Okay, Diane?
I walked this property with John pre-season,
About May.
about maybe even April. And that was all pretty dry. But here it's looking like it's wet. But Charlie's been farming that for,
Well, that's been farmed for as
Forever.
long as.
yeah,
I mean, not
forever.
forever, but a
Long time. Yeah. So that's all the way up to the wetlands, which is where the irrigation is plopped into that area.
If you superimpose this plan, you can actually see. So this is the division. Right in here is the railroad, the railway.
Okay.
Right along here. This is one end of it. This is not, then it comes up to here. This is the farmed area. This is the wetland area that's not farmed. So you can see it's always been farmed. This little neck, as I say, is the neck that comes out this direction. So our point is it's always been farmed. We didn't think there was any, listen, you can see the wetland here. It's delineated and it goes right in between. But one can read these covenants and restrictions and read the plan and say, no, the intent was you stop here, stop farming here. And I just don't.
Can you really see that that was farmed over there in the back, that right there? Because we couldn't even see that.
It's there.
Yeah, I think that's what that reflects is.
Okay.
That's
That is
sort
a
of
field.
Bob Field.
Okay.
That's part of the,
This is the time of the year where there's nothing there and that's. sort of-
Okay.
We never walked over there, Diane.
Yeah, I know we couldn't get over
You
there.
you have to cross.
Yeah, you
this
do.
road.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Okay.
And that's delineated as in between here.
Okay.
That's the wetland.
So I
that's in
just haven't
between.
seen that one piece.
So what it comes down to is we just want to be able to farm what we've always farmed. And we're talking to 3 different people about doing that. There's been some others that we're not interested in, but we do want to keep it farming. Our preference is another vineyard. That would be that's our preference if we can get there. But they all need enough space to grow enough of what they want. So really, it's down to we just want to farm what they've always farmed. Don't change anything else, just farm what they've always farmed.
existing fields, keep them open.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, if the planning board doesn't let us do it, or someone says we can't do it, it's going to turn into a jungle. I mean, it's going to be like across from the library that just turns into a jungle, and we're going to lose the fields. And to be quite honest with you, I think the 2 vineyards are a good thing. I mean, the other one that just got approved and this one, it's going to give us something else because we love our fields. I like my fields as much as all the other fields in town. And I think we need to be looking at what an alternative we're going to come up with, because I don't think we're going to find people to farm as it is and grow corn and do those things forever. We got to think about it, something. I mean, I don't like a solar farm, I can tell you that. I hate to see something like that. So if nothing else, to me, these are good test projects to see how they go and how they work, and maybe people will do that more. And it's going to look way better. There's some other in bigger areas. There's someone that wants to put some Christmas trees in here. I'm not so wild about that because of the traffic that'll generate for a short period of time. It'll be hard to get cars in and out in the amount that you can grow. So we want to have someone that's going to farm it. It's a slow operation with not a lot of traffic. And that's where we think the vineyard works. And I like that idea. John likes that idea.
One of the things that, of course, I don't appreciate as much as you all do is that was pointed out to me is if you can't farm on this side, then all of a sudden you're just down to this piece. And practically speaking, it's probably economically unfeasible. And that's, I think, to Rick's point of at some point, if you can't make use of what we currently make use of, you end up with a piece that just fills in as jungle. So that really is something I couldn't appreciate as much as when the people started asking questions. Well, we're only going to have a limited size field out there, and what about the rest of that field?
So your intention is to
Continue.
and then kind of stop it there?
Yeah, at the property line.
Yeah,
It'd be
it's
a
property
different home.
How are
property
you going to
line.
get over there?
There's a road that actually.
Build a bridge.
There's actually a road,
likes
a dirt
bridges.
road that goes through there.
There's also,
Through the wetlands?
You got-
though?
Hold on, hold on, let's let him finish.
There's a dirt road that goes through there. It's always gone. People have driven through with their tractors.
and the old car track is right there too. And that is still in place, from one thing to the other.
After we've heard this, could you just kind of describe the dot thing one more time?
Yes. As I say, there's some question of interpretation, and is based upon one person looking at the plan of record, seeing the dots. Normally, the dots would be described on a legend of the plan, and they weren't described. But if you look at the arrows on this enlarged portion of it, not the front page, the second page, because it's a little easier to see. It says proposed area for proposed deed restriction area. And it seems to go from one boundary to the other. And that is, you have other boundaries set up as limits of jurisdictional wetlands. So that area in there could be deemed as the restriction. And the yellow area on your highlighted plan, not restriction. However, I think a fair reading of it is if you look at the dots, they're consistently across all the way to the former cable car track. And someone has now raised the question of, well, doesn't that mean in your covenants that you didn't reserve the right to do that yellow portion?
Okay.
So that's really what we're going to the planning board for, is to get clarification. And if we get your blessing that, yeah, you agree it should continue to be farmed, that's what we would take to the planning board and let them decide.
And if you go to the front page where the trolley car is, or where the power lines go, there's another one that says proposed area of deed restriction, right on the front page where the power line's 150 foot feet. So right there, and it shows a dot going to that whole area.
Okay.
Okay, so that can be the interpretation.
It just, to me, as I said to my client, I'd fall on the sword a little bit here, but I reserve the right to build a building subject to the planning board. And in that reservation, it doesn't say, but not within the area of the proposed deed restrictions. But you can't build in the wetlands, so we didn't need to say that. But it does reserve the right theoretically to put a building in an area which you can't farm. And nobody would, it's nonsensical. I think the understanding with the planning board is we have to come back to the planning board if you want to put a farm. There's outlined on the plan exactly where a building would fit if you wanted to do it. So all of that pointed to me that anything not in the wet, all the yellow area was to be allowed to be farmed, any of those agricultural. But I felt it was fair, we should come back to you first and get your input to give to the planning board. We're scheduled for the 17th at the planning board on the 17th.
And to be honest with you, the dots probably shouldn't have been in that area that's upland, basically. They shouldn't have been there. I didn't catch it. We submitted it.
No, it's
That's-
perfect.
You know, just,
To go back to the AutoCAD file and see
Yeah.
what layer that thing is on,
Yeah.
who knows?
yeah, so they should have never been there. Except the hash marks across the trolley car track needed to be there, but all the dots in the upland that always got farmed shouldn't have been there because it was always our intention that when we did this, it was going to be farmed.
I think you've struck oil because I heard murmurings of emotion over here from two people.
People. I'd like to make a motion to support the idea of farming the yellow areas. And we
Of the
could,
existing farm.
what?
You leave it, farm the existing areas that's always been farmed.
Well,
out there.
of the yellow
And
areas on
that
the
complies with it.
plan that, and we
That's
support that going to the planning board, that idea going to the planning board.
Can you say that to me one more time, please, Joan? So I
A
make sure I
motion,
get it.
a motion to support on map 15, lot 1415, to include the areas that are highlighted in yellow of the plan they supplied, writing a letter to the planning board saying that we support that to be in agricultural use.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second? All right. We have Kevin, second. All right. Is there any further discussion?
I like it. Anytime we can retain our farming properties as farming, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I feel like we're moving.
I think we're doing a
moving
good
back into
thing.
Farmland. So,
Yep.
all right. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye. Are you abstaining?
Those opposed? Those abstaining?
I'm abstaining only because, for the record, I am the chair of the planning board, so.
Okay, fair enough.
What a conflict.
All right.
Thank you.
think?
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
They agriculture. Go farm.
Something good happened today.
Okay.
Night, John. Good to see you.
Chairman or Secretary, will something be transmitted to the planning board for August 17th? Could you
Yes.
just make sure a copy
August
of the
17th.
yellow plan goes with it since it references
I
it?
mean, that's the one.
Do you have a business card as well?
I don't,
Okay.
but I'll get it to everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, land preservation plan. Jason.
Oh, okay.
Is it extra?
I will try to be as brief as possible. All right, so one of the things that we've been talking about for several months is the development of a land preservation plan. And, I just want to make sure that the folks on this commission are okay with us moving forward on it. It's going to take a little bit of effort. But the bottom line with the land preservation plan, it actually says land acquisition strategy, but it's really preservation plan, is to develop a document that outlines the process that we go through and the criteria to purchase, acquire conservation properties. There's a couple reasons why I think we need this. Number one is to set the framework and the guidelines for how we purchase or acquire properties. Number two is to figure out the means in which we can acquire properties, either through easements or right out purchase or other means. And number three is it provides us with a document and a living plan that could potentially allow us to, in the future, go for funding for land acquisition. Meaning that if we go to if you look at the CIP plan, they budgeted $2 million in there over 4 or 5 years. If we don't have a land acquisition strategy, we're going to go nowhere with that. And so this might not come up next year. This might come up the year later, but we need to get a plan in place. So I just wanted to make sure that this is something that the commission wanted to go forward with. I envision it being about a 15-page document. I envision that we're going to have to put a little bit of effort into this over a series of meetings, and I think we can get this done by the end of the year. I'll take the ball and do a lot of the heavy lifting on the writing on it, but I definitely we need to work during our meetings. We might need to set aside 15, 20, 25 minutes just to kind of discuss things so I can pull that information together. And in the end, we can have a review process and go from there.
I just want to jump in. I remember when we made a motion in April or May to pursue this, that there was authorization for a subcommittee. So I don't know if we wanted to kind of jump into that at some point. And
Was
have
there
them get involved.
authorization or discussion?
There was authorization. I believe there was a motion. I don't.
Which meeting do you think it was?
I think it was May. I want to say it was May.
I believe there was as well. I
um,
don't have May, drafted May 2021.
Communication policy.
That's the communication policy. I don't have May.
I have May,
You have May's meeting, Jim?
June.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a good idea. Now, will this conflict with any existing procedures or policies that we have right now?
I think this was supposed to go in tandem with existing work that we're doing, because we also have the conservation master plan, which and work has begun on that at NRPC. And so I
Okay.
think this was to supplement and to
Yep.
bring
All
greater
right, so
specificity
there's
to
no
that plan.
conflict with existing rules or regulations or,
I'd say on the contrary.
I think
Okay,
it
no.
complements.
Right.
okay, no, I just,
Actually.
I don't see
I
a
like the
motion in there.
subcommittee.
Okay. What's that?
I like the subcommittee because I think we're gonna have to review this plan as it comes back from them as they put it together. We're gonna want to review it and make it ours.
Mhm.
I think we're gonna get something that's a little bit canned.
Agree.
So maybe the subcommittee can start with that and be ready for pieces as it starts coming in from Jay.
Yeah, I mean, if we can't find that we made a motion to establish a subcommittee, I guess we could do that.
Well, I
again.
talked about an acquisition strategy slideshow, farmland money, a ranking system. I don't see a motion anywhere.
did we talk about cost?
For what?
$4,500.
We already did. All
Yeah,
set.
all
All,
done.
all approved.
Okay.
All done.
NRPC,
That's two
that's
different
all.
things.
I didn't mean to grind your presentation to a screeching halt.
Nope, no, this is good. So we'll have to figure out on the subcommittee. If someone wants to make a motion now and go the subcommittee way, that's cool. What I would like to do at the next meeting, hopefully we have a full board, is just go through a process where I would like to poll each person that's sitting in this room technologically. Okay, we're going to hold our iPhones up to the screen. We're going to zoom around on our iPhones and things like that, to poll what's important to each one of you when it comes to conservation land, either purchase or acquisition. And just so that we're not going back and forth for 2 hours of one person liking one thing, this will allow us to kind of source all of our thoughts and bring it into one spot and really get a feeling for how the commission feels. And that will allow us to figure out kind of what goes to the top of the list and what goes to the bottom of the list. And these are some of the criteria that I sent out last month. It was through an email. So I think it's going to be a combination of doing the hardcore work in the subcommittee, but we definitely need information from the full commission to feed the subcommittee.
Okay.
So that's why I would be asking for maybe 20 minutes at each meeting going forward over the next few months, just to gain that information.
So would a subcommittee be kind of redundant then?
You're not going to write this whole thing in 20-minute bites over three meetings.
Sure,
We need
yeah.
to gain the pulse of what the commission feels, potentially gain the pulse of what the planning board feels and maybe even the public, what their opinion is, and then pull all that information together to develop a strategy going forward. And then we have to look at individual pieces of property eventually, of what things, what's our criteria? How do we rank that criteria? How does it look against various different pieces of property in town? And we can't spend a lot of that time here. That could take, hours.
Diane? Oh, you wanna
Go ahead.
this question?
I think that if we could get people to respond on their email, that you might want to generate the information prior to the meeting and then just maybe spend 5 minutes saying, this is what my poll said. And this is
It's a
where
good
I
idea.
am, and maybe keep it to 5 to 10 minutes because we really are running on time crunches.
Agree.
So what do we need?
Well,
Need a motion?
if we want to reestablish or make for sure that we establish a subcommittee, then yeah, I'll take a motion to do
Okay,
so.
I'd like to make a motion that we establish a subcommittee
Land preservation plan.
for the land preservation plan.
All right.
Can
I
you
have a
add
motion.
that Jay would run that?
And then we'd like to have Jason run it.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, and that was, sorry, Michael?
Yeah.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
6. Those opposed?
I abstain.
Those abstaining? Right. Motion passes 6-0-1.
What I'm going to try to do, Mr. Chair, is based on what Diane said, some of the polling stuff, I'm going to try to do online via email. That way we're not spending a lot of time at the meetings.
Okay, yeah. So you're gonna send that out in the next
Yep.
couple days or weeks?
By the end of the month.
End of the month,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
All right,
That's that.
all right. Is that it?
Yep.
All right. Next up, land management policy. So I've passed out to everybody the land management policy that I've been writing up. It's 3 pages. If everyone wants to take a minute and read through some of the items here. And this is also intended to be a living document. It's not complete or, particularly big and detailed by any means, but I think it's a good foot in the door for us moving in a positive direction when it comes to actually managing our properties, particularly as it relates to outside of these meetings, which is a lot of the work that we do. So read through that and let me know what you think.
Is this something that you want to decide on now, or should we read through this and make?
Yeah, I want to read this.
Yeah, well, if you guys want to do it next month, we can do that. But
Makes sense. There's a lot of reading here.
okay,
Yeah.
And it's
All
some
too big?
thoughts.
all right.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, well, we can hold off until next meeting, no rush. And next up was the communication policy, which was sent out shortly before our meeting last month. So I would be seeking action on this tonight.
Matt, before we go forward, did you send that to us? The land
Yes.
management policy? Okay, that's what I thought.
Oh, the land management policy. Sorry, I printed that up this evening. So I sent this out because I was anticipating doing it last month.
Okay,
But
so that's
yeah,
part of last month's correspondence?
yeah, this was just before, but I didn't feel like it was.
So you've made changes to it, though?
I only made one related to disclosing non-public information. I just said it was
Okay.
consistent with state law.
Okay.
But that is the only change.
You did send that out?
Yeah, we got to look at our stuff, and make sure that we're all reading what we need to read and moving, so that when we get to the meeting, we're able to just say we read it, we're ready.
Does the commission have bylaws?
We
Yeah,
do.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
So I think this would basically kind of get absorbed into the
Yeah,
bylaws. Like there would be
supplement.
another line for it.
Matt, do you want to just take a minute and go over what your thoughts are with this?
With the objective.
Yeah.
So it's basically related to not only how we communicate in the meetings, but it's also intended to be a guideline for how we, discuss things with the public, making sure that we're not, saying things that are not consistent with the board. A couple other towns have things like this, but it largely relates to social media. I believe the school board has something similar, but it's just to make sure that we're all kind of acting as a board, and that we're staying organized in how we're presenting ourselves to the public.
Can I add one thing to this?
Sure.
Request for minutes. If it's within the 5 days and they're not approved yet, should clearly be marked draft, and the request should only go through the chairman.
Okay.
And of course, if it's after they're approved, they can, they actually go in the public book in the town clerk's office.
All right.
They need to be published, though.
Not, I don't think unapproved minutes need to be published. They
No,
need to
I
be
agree.
ready.
I agree. Okay.
They
Yeah,
don't
I
need to
think
be
it,
published.
because when it's a draft, you have to make sure that the material is presentable. So I think you just, if as requested, it's provided.
Right.
Okay. Right. So we have one extra bullet point to add here.
Who's going to add that to this?
A little confused on not confused, but a little questionable on the first one. Any commissioner and alternate should be allowed to speak with any person or organization for the purpose of education, asking questions, et cetera, without need of formal approval from the commission.
So I kind of left that open-ended as kind of like a fact-finding thing, just so that if anyone thought that this related to, thought they were limited in going and asking questions about from different organizations,
You mean the commission asking questions or somebody else asking?
individual members asking questions to separate entities,
Like, for instance, if we ask a question to the Recreation Commission, that kind of thing?
or like up to Fish and Game if they wanted
Oh,
clarification on,
Oh.
something that we're working on, like, hey, we're doing a bird watching
Okay.
program
Yeah,
and
I
we want
get
to do this,
Okay.
just to make sure that, that was acceptable,
Okay.
so that people didn't feel restrained from doing that fact finding
Oh,
type
okay.
communication.
Okay. So more like fact finding. Okay.
Yeah. I probably could have worded that a little bit better. I just wanted to keep it general.
Okay.
I don't think you need the last two sentences on that first bullet. That's kind of getting into
Yeah.
That's detail.
minutia a little bit.
Yeah, kind of redundant for that.
Maybe add to the second one that the chairman's permission is sufficient.
I think, hold on a sec, the second one, take action in the name of the commission, formal permission. Yeah, so I cover that down below. I say that the chairperson will provide public comment on behalf of the commission following a decision. And then beneath that, is if, for you, example, you, Diane, you're working on the community garden and the board has already said you get to talk about it and disclose it, then that will be an acceptable channel instead. So if
Sometimes though things come up in between meetings
Mhm.
that may need action by Joan or by me or by another member,
Mhm.
that like I've called you and said, Matt, do I have your permission to go talk to so-and-so to do such and such?
Mhm.
And I think that should be in here, that's sufficient. That it doesn't always have to go for a board decision, to wait a month to make a decision.
I agree.
Yep,
Whether or
that's
not someone
still,
can speak on that.
that's still covered down here.
It is.
Yeah, commissioners and alternates wishing to make public comment on behalf of the commission may do so
Oh,
after
okay,
A,
sorry,
authorization
sorry.
from the chairperson or
Okay.
from the commission itself.
Okay,
So that's covered.
okay. Thank you.
Just as a point, on your guidelines where you got ... there should be a number or a letter.
Yeah, I forgot to carry that over from the land management policy, which is broken down into articles and then numbered and lettered.
Yeah.
So
Numbers would be
I can
good.
change that. So we're going to change that to numbers.
Or Roman numerals.
Joan, will you contact Matt with that addendum you wanted about minutes?
I added that, so if we want to accept the policy, we can do it as amended.
Oh, okay. But she's going to get it to you so that you have exactly her wording. on it.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
So then when we have it, we can just go straight to bylaws as is.
Okay, yep. Does anybody else have any questions?
I agree, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth bullet, commissioners and alternates should refrain from indicating or suggesting how they will vote, yada, yada, yada. I agree with that, but is that something that we can mandate?
Yes. So if it's a judicial or quasi judicial function, then there's prejudgment
Judicial.
and quasi judicial.
I'm gray on that one.
No, I actually had to contact legal counsel through the New Hampshire Municipal Association, and they said yes.
They did
That-
say yes?
Yes, they did. They immediately. That's the response I got when I brought up that scenario.
That,
So
that,
we should be more. Maybe I should specify that it's related specifically to those two situations. But yeah, that,
well, when you're hearing a case, you shouldn't say how you feel about it until you're going
Correct.
to vote.
right, because it actually does jeopardize that decision, because if there was prejudgment that can be found, that decision can actually be challenged. So that's something that we should refrain from doing, because that can be a big headache.
Okay.
So you're going to amend that bullet?
I can, yeah. It sounds like we should be more specific on that one.
Oh, and number 5?
Yep.
It's different if you're talking about a lawnmower versus.
Right, and that's a legislative function. Legislative functions are okay. It's kind of not recommended, but you can, and it's not. That won't be an issue.
Well, maybe make it more specific as to that, whether it's a quasi judicial versus a quasi legislative.
It needs a little out there.
Okay.
All right, hold on a second. The only thing that I think is a little clunky is still that first bullet, where it says for the purposes of, for
Yeah,
the
why don't we
purpose
just
of
say-
asking questions, et cetera. I think
Let's-
that needs to be tightened up a little bit.
Let's just say for the purpose of education. Let's leave it at that for
Yep.
now. I think that'll suffice, and we'll just and then remove the other 2 points up to et cetera, and then it'll just carry on without need of formal approval from the commission.
So you're not adding fact finding, you're taking out, et cetera, asking questions, et cetera.
Yeah, I think it should just say for the purpose. So the sentence will now read, any commissioner and alternate should be allowed to speak with any person or organization for the purpose of education. Oh yeah, I guess fact finding would be a good one to add. Education and fact finding
There you go.
without need of formal approval from the commission.
Yeah.
Everyone good with that?
Yeah, can you see this now?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, those, did a few things, but that's good. We neatened it up a bit. All right.
You want a
Matt,
motion?
just also tighten up a couple of the things. The commission should always be capitalized all the way through. Number those things.
Yep.
Yeah, numbering them would be good. All right, so can we bring it back next month? Just finished so that we can vote on it next month.
Well,
I hate to hold you up on it. I don't mean to, but there's been enough changes to it that we probably should
No, I think that's a good idea.
see it.
okay.
Put the changes and send it out again
So
Let us
Joan, you'll do
reread it,
yours,
and then,
Matt, you've got the rest. Perfect.
And Mr.
Okay.
Chair, also, don't just send, you can send this out to us prior to the meeting so we can review it. Okay?
I did with this, I did.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
find it in my stuff. I just looked at it.
Yeah,
I
Maybe
I
sent
don't
it over
recall
a
ever
month in
seeing it.
advance. I sent it prior to our last meeting in July, so the end of June.
Oh,
So,
okay, that's maybe why.
I didn't find it in there, but I've been blocked a couple times.
Okay.
Surely it's only personal.
All right. Next up, land acquisition fund cap adjustment, potential warrant article. So we've been kind of talking about this for a while. I think that we should adjust that cap, that we should raise it. And basically seeking the opinion of the commission this evening, and potentially looking at a warrant article for next year, to raise that cap.
what's a cap now?
So it's at $1 million.
And we want to go to 2 million. I
How
think,
about
right?
5 million?
This right here, I dug up this is from 2014, I believe it is. This
Yep.
is the warrant article that passed 1080 to 405. It basically says that they're amending the 2011 yada, yada, yada related to the conservation fund. In no event shall the balance of the conservation fund be permitted to exceed $1 million.
How about if we just remove the cap?
I don't think it would pass.
That could be risky. Yeah, I agree. That could be risky. Because we want to make sure that the voters will be supportive.
But if it didn't pass, then you'd be back to the 1 million, right? You would,
Right. It would just stay as is. There'll be no change.
no, what do you
Did I
think?
hear a rumor that they're waiving that right now? They're waiving that cap right
So
now?
no, they're not waiving not in the sense that they're removing the cap, but the selectmen said during a meeting that any funds that overflow past the cap, jump in at any point, Kevin, if I'm wrong, that they're not going to challenge that fund being used for anything else, and that they believe that that those funds should stay for conservation use.
Use it for something.
But we still have to vote on those. We'll need another warrant article for town meeting to capture those funds and
Mhm.
put them either back into our fund or another fund for conservation purposes. So right now they're in limbo.
Right.
They have to be put into another account line.
What is your feeling, on the street about what would pass? Would a $5 million cap or take the cap off? What are you thinking?
Well, the cap went on because of the board at the time, the makeup of the board.
2000, what was it, 14?
14. Yeah.
Long time ago.
During that time. So right now, I think the outside world is more subject to us being a little more favorable. That's how I feel about it.
I,
You to expand the cap.
to expand it, but I think if you take
What
it off,
number you do, I don't know.
if you take it off completely, I don't know.
I don't think that's gonna
I don't
happen.
think it would pass either.
I think we should take it off completely, but if you
Yeah.
wanted to find the number, I think if you put it up to 2.5 million, and then if you start creeping over 2 million in a few years, you take a look at it again and
Well, let's hope that we're able to start purchasing land on a regular basis and fulfilling
You'll find
that
that you're-
requirement as a
But
conservation board.
I mean, how much has land increased from 2014 is a good question.
a lot.
And the other side too, your growth is just about dead right now for homes. It's based off the impact fees. All this stuff.
Charcoal?
What do you
Yeah,
mean?
but that's not a lot, okay? You figure the big picture.
I just feel like $1 million is too snug. That's,
I
we
agree.
should
Especially since
absolutely.
we're
That's gotta
sitting
go
there.
away.
It's,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're sitting there.
it's putting us in a position it's making decisions really tough. So I think we're all in agreement that we should at least raise that cap.
2 maybe. 2
Yeah.
million, I think.
So do you
I'd go
want a
5.
motion? or-
I don't know.
I would say, Matt,
Twice?
next meeting,
Mhm.
do you want to take this on, writing the warrant article?
Yeah. I'll do that.
Bring a draft in next meeting and we'll go from there and we can decide on the number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe talk to Troy.
Yeah, I think I'll need to talk with Troy, and I might talk with Karen as
I think
well.
you can
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
like
right, yeah.
almost use some of this wording right here. Might help you
Yeah.
out.
I agree. But I also feel like now's a
Burning my
pretty good
ass.
time.
Yeah, now's the time you should do it.
It's a
burning
good
my
time.
ass.
The yellow.
No,
Okay,
just
so
just the wording.
I'm not sure if I need a motion for that. I think I
No,
can just
we
go
can
ahead and
just
do
go
it.
ahead, yeah.
All right, so I'll work on that and I'll come back with a draft next month. All right, acceptance of minutes for the months, for the meetings during the months of April, May, June, and July. So I believe that these have been sent out over email and Diane has some paper copies. Has everyone had enough time to review those
The
minutes?
only one that I have is, that I printed out copies is the one that I did for July.
July, okay.
Yep, and that has gone out, that went out, I believe, on the 5th of July, or the 4th of July, or the 3rd of July, let's see.
I
It
sent,
went out.
before the last
It
meeting,
went
I
out right
sent,
after the meeting. Hmm.
Okay.
before the last meeting, I sent out April, May, and June.
Yeah.
No, whatever, let's see, July. Yeah.
Do
I
you
did
have
June.
copies of those, Joan?
No, because I sent them out previously. I didn't get a chance to make any today. Let's see. April, Andrew did April.
I think I sent them out. The meeting was July 1st. I think I sent them out July 2nd.
I have no problem with the July 1st minutes.
Can
I
yeah,
have, well, can we start April, May, June,
sure.
April?
Yeah, my only thing with April, and it's not really nothing significant, but just the intent during when we were discussing the bylaws, is that my rationale for wanting to adjust the land management one was to make sure that we were still managing conservation land, that conservation was still managing
That was
conservation land.
April?
Yeah, it
What
was.
page?
This was. Let's see here. I think it was on
In
the
the
front.
Election,
Here, one
sure it
quick.
was April?
Oh, it might have been May.
Okay. May.
Sorry.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve April.
Joan, can I just see the April and May just real quick?
April, you were absent April,
I don't think,
My arms are too short.
and May.
Got May there? I'm looking at it because
Yeah, it's just going to be the bylaws on
I'm
May's
still being blocked by the emails.
amendments to bylaws is in May,
Okay, it is May. All right.
and she went to see May.
Make a motion. We don't let this happen. Too.
Yeah.
Did I go?
I'm
Well,
only kidding. I'm
No,
not making a
that's-
motion.
that's okay though. I agree. We got to make sure we're staying on top of these because when we get these piling up, then it gets
Yeah.
tough.
Everybody
It's
should
trying
be
to
doing
remember.
this. you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I don't have to worry about April. I wasn't there.
So I
May.
will entertain a motion to accept the April.
Okay, I made a motion to accept April as written.
Oh, you did? Okay. Do I have a second? All right. Harry seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. 1, 2, 3. Anyone else? Oh, 4 was. What happened there? 1,
Who
2,
who
3,
was
4.
our, who did we put on as a, what do you call it, a member?
Nobody, we had 7.
We had
For tonight, you mean?
No, I'm talking about for April. Because should they vote on the minutes?
Not me. I wasn't there.
If they were a member for April
Mhm.
and we're voting on April's minutes, should that person be voting on these minutes?
No, it's based on whoever's voting right now.
Okay.
So all right, so 4 are those opposed,
I'm
those
staying.
abstaining.
And I'm abstaining.
All right,
so.
so 1, 2, who else abstained?
I
John.
vote approved.
Oh, you did? Wait,
I-
who
So he
abstained? Oh, you
abstained.
abstained. Sorry, so 3. All right, sorry, I was
Who else abstained?
Jason.
Oh.
Yeah, so motion passes 403.
I don't think I was here.
That'd be real awkward if
No,
we denied the minutes.
I don't think I was a member.
Jason, you were here.
It's in limbo
No,
forever.
It was May, I'm sorry.
All right,
May?
May, May.
May I? So
Next
what
up.
do you want to amend in May on the bylaws?
under where we're talking about bylaws, my rationale to change it was to make sure that we were still managing conservation land.
That's all you can do.
Well, it was based on the interpretation of one
Oh,
of
that the
the
conservation-
segments
Yeah.
that another entity would come in.
Still managing conservation.
Okay, I make a motion that we accept
Wait a minute.
May with the corrections.
Wait, I have another correction. Two name spellings on paragraph, the first page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, whose were these? Oh, these are Andrews also, so I guess must have them, so.
That's clerical.
It's important to spell names right. So Renee Thoreau is Theroux, and Petropolis is Petropoulos, comma, PE. And you want to still manage conservation.
Okay.
So if I have these in the computer, do you want me to fix these? I think I might have these from Andrew.
Please, yes.
Do I still have to, am I making a motion again?
Yes, if you would.
Okay, I make a motion, we accept May's minutes with the additional corrections as stated.
I second. All right, though, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Seven, all right, those opposed, those abstained, motion passes 7-0-0. June. I had no issues with June.
Then I make a motion, we accept them.
All right, very good. Do I have a
I'll second it.
All right, we have a second. Moving right along. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those opposed, those abstained.
Abstaining.
Right, did I count wrong? Were you in favor? You were.
Yes.
All right, so 6-0-1. Math is hard.
Now we have non-public
That
minutes
wasn't
from June. I
June.
don't
You weren't-
want to handle non-public minutes from June.
Is
I don't
it-
make copies and don't send them out.
Yeah, those, if it's still an ongoing non-public thing, wouldn't we seal those until a time when that matter was no longer non-public?
Yeah.
I
What do they do with, did they approve non-public, selectmen approve non-public minutes? You could still steal them, but they should be approved, shouldn't they?
They have to be blessed. Yep, make sure it's done right.
Yeah,
So nobody's seen them yet, though.
right. You can't send them out. So do we want to pass them around? What do we want to do?
Can we approve that no, we can't, can we? That would just be a big loop.
I have to approve them in non-public?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Well,
Because it
Never
is,
ran across, I've
Well,
never ran across that.
that's an
Well,
interesting one.
We have that
How
one
do you
straightened
get them?
out
Do you get a copy of them to read, or do you pass them around? What happens, Kevin?
They give us something to read.
at the meeting.
Yep.
Because you don't want to send them by email.
All right, so non-public is going to be brought back.
We'll figure out how to do that.
Okay.
Next
I'll talk to New Hampshire Municipal because that's probably
Yeah.
that's a good question to bring up
But
to
their
them.
question, how long is it non-public for too?
As long as
As
you
long
seal
as it's
them.
sealed. Yeah. Because
We have to remember
sometimes
to seal them.
non-public can be sealed for forever.
Forever, yeah.
Perpetuity. Okay. So next let's move on to July.
Okay, July, I marked up a copy. If you want me to give these to Diane, I can do that. I have the spelling, Diane. I put this names over here of the spellings. People who are alternate, I put comma alternate. And could you just put minutes approved in a blank on minutes, and then we could just type that in after they're approved. The only big change was, Barron's should be 1 or 2.
Yeah, I'll just take your copy.
Yeah, it should be a zoning special exception, not exemption.
Oh.
And then down here, I don't know who seconded, Joan made a motion to send the zoning board a letter saying the Conservation Commission recommends the exception, but I don't know who seconded it. And you can have
Anybody
that
remember seconding the motion?
copy.
Oh, did you make a motion?
No, we're talking about a motion from last month's meeting. We can YouTube that if
Yeah.
we
Okay.
need to. Okay, so can we approve it pending the identification of that person?
As amended, I guess, yeah.
I think so. Even though it's done after the fact, but yeah.
Make
on
a
the
motion,
condition.
we approve. the July meetings,
All right, you made it easy. Do I have a second?
because it's just an amendment we already
I'll
talked
second
about.
it.
All right, that is moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Wait a
Raise your hand.
second, wait a second.
Oh, oh.
Who approved it?
So that
Who
was
made the motion?
motion
Kevin.
is Kevin,
Kevin.
second Harry.
Thank you.
All those in favor, before Diane sees, signify by saying aye and raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. And are those opposed? Those abstaining?
I'm abstaining.
All right, motion passes 601. And a non-public session in July as well, I believe, right?
Can't do it in public.
Right. No, I know. It's just for
Well,
next
and-
time. Next time. Okay. Next up, Lonely Ford ADA compliant trail. So I was thinking, I saw on the news, Manchester is doing an ADA compliant trail that is wheelchair accessible up through some wetland and on a conservation property that they own. I just feel like the Lonely Fort Trail checks a lot of boxes for us to being able to do that. You can park your vehicle right off the bike path. You can go right up the bike path and right onto the trail. It's relatively level, hard packed. I believe if there were any modifications that would need to be made, they wouldn't be exceptionally difficult to do. The one issue is that there's a small gully towards the end of the trail that will require a bridge being placed. That would kind of be flush with the surface of the ground on either side. I don't think that would be impossible either. It's not incredibly big. So I just kind of want to get everyone's thoughts on that, if this is something worth pursuing. I think it is. I think we should make sure that at least one of our properties is accessible to some of our residents and the public who might not have the same ability to access our other properties.
Do you know how wide does an ADA trail have to be?
I'd have to explore the requirements. Well, I haven't looked at them in a little bit. A lot of them were qualitative. Like it was kind of just like, is it the surface hard packed? Is it level? I would need to double check it.
It's 36,
What's that?
Probably 36.
3 feet.
3
Just like
feet.
any hallway,
3 feet.
anything else.
And that's pretty in line with the trail right now. And we could,
That's not, because if somebody's ADA and somebody's come as not, there's plenty of room to get off.
yeah.
Okay?
Tell me about parking again. Where would you park?
There's a town-owned parking lot at the corner between Albuquerque and Cranberry.
Yeah, I thought
Fences.
somebody owned that because there's usually a car parked there.
The town does.
Town
Town
owns
owns
it.
it.
Yep.
Usually there's a car parked there or something for sale there. Okay.
I know what you're talking about. That hasn't happened in a while. I think that's a pretty recent acquisition from the town.
Few years.
Yeah, in the last couple of years, because I remember working on it for the highway department. That is town land. So if I'd like to explore it further. So unless anybody has any other questions or anything or any objections, I'd like to explore that. And
Go right ahead. I
Sounds
agree.
like a
work.
good
And
thing.
plus, we already have the building materials, so I don't know if I need a motion to actually go ahead and start doing it, exploring it.
Well,
and then
no,
putting-
no, we'd like you to explore it first.
Okay. All right. So I will work on that.
I got some good pictures when I was up in Intervale of different, like really unobtrusive bridges that went across like small gullies and
Mhm.
I'll send you them.
Okay.
They were kind of cool.
Well, let
Actually,
me
took 'em
ask
for
a
Jen.
question now. The Musterfield, is that wheelchair accessible?
The Musterfield, it all depends what you consider the slope.
Yeah.
The field itself down low, but getting to the Musterfield itself, which used to be an old cornfield when I was growing up,
Mhm.
that's all right up there, but it's a pitch going up and it's very, very slow pitch in that whole thing. So
Plus
you know,
it's pretty
Got
close to the
grass.
river.
and you're real close to the river, so you got room. It'd be a tired haul up with that person, so somebody could push.
Yeah.
But you can do, you take the lawnmower. I took my lawnmower, just kept it clean all the time. It was good.
Okay.
Hasn't been done in a while.
Next up, weather station purchase. I sent out an email at the beginning of the week. I pretty much narrowed it down to 2 options, both of which are from the same company. I printed out a little guide of things that we can look at for purchasing. And my favorite of the 2 that I proposed from Ambient Weather was the WS 2000. These stations hook right up to the Wi-Fi and they live stream their data every few seconds. right up to Weather Underground. And I think you can actually have them hooked up to other websites, and we can put the URL right on the town website. The device records, keeps records of that data and graphs it, and it also provides that on the website as well. It's under $300. It's pretty inexpensive. I believe the suggestion from Jason was that we use beautification funds, go before the selectmen and ask for those. Otherwise, we could do it through the educational fund that we have, and we can get it up and running right at the fire station. And John Brunel would be willing to help with the install and setting it up to the town's Wi-Fi.
Over here.
Yep.
Down there.
The
Fire
new
station.
fire station, sorry. Because there's an existing there's an existing weather station there right now, but it's apparently not that great. Doesn't work out.
Then where does it, where can you pick up the information from? How do you pick it up?
Like-
Wi-Fi?
Yeah, it has Wi-Fi connection, and John would be able to set that up. I guess he has experience with this. And yeah, it would just connect right to the website. It has an account,
Oh.
whether you use Weather Underground or whatever, and live streams the results. And there are a few in town that work pretty well, but now we'd have a one for the town itself, and then we can also stream these results to the National Weather Service. They have a few programs where you can record and send data to them that they use in their own record keeping.
So would that be on the town page? Or would?
Yes.
Yeah, so you would be able to get right on it, Joan, online. Just go to right to a website.
To our
All the
website?
live information would be there. You can also scroll down and essentially gives you, I clicked on history right there. And so you can go back and see weather by the month, how many inches of rain you had for a month, what the highest wind speed was, and you can go all the way back and trend that. I think it's a good idea.
So
So it accumulates data.
Yeah.
to kind of add to that, we actually, since adopting the weather program and now that we're doing all this, we actually made the news for the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, because we're the only, according to Barbara, was it Richter? I guess we're the only town that's doing this right now in the state. And then Hampton Conservation Commission shared the article on social media. So
So what do we need to do now?
seeking approval to spend the $289.99 to buy a weather station.
Is the money in the education account?
Yeah.
Yes, there's $4,000.
Does that,
4,800.
does everybody feel that that is
That's what it is.
Yeah.
it's for?
Yeah, that's what it's for.
We'll make a motion to a purchase 200, the weather station that hold on, let me back up.
WS
WS 2000.
I got it right here.
She already made it, written it all down for you.
Somebody else make the motion. I don't have
No,
the
you do
paper in
it.
front of
Here.
me.
Motion to purchase.
I make a motion to purchase the ambient weather WS 2000 smart weather station at a cost
Oh,
of $289 with the funds to come from
The educational fund.
the Conservation Educational Fund.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Question I have is maintenance. Who's gonna take care of it?
I think we can. I
Like,
not
what we got for a rain gauge or cup there?
So it has an electronic one. And I think I'm not too sure about the maintenance of those, but the National Weather Service recommended, at least for like snow, that there's a separate gauge that be purchased for that. And I know that if we decided to change it out or something, I guess these are very easy to
Okay.
get new
I
equipment
just have a
for,
question.
but I'm not too, I think they're pretty durable. I haven't heard that much out of the way of them breaking often.
So who
So-
did you say would, though? What was your answer to him?
What's that for?
Who would maintain it?
The maintenance.
I think that will be kind of on us because it's our
Who's
equipment.
us?
Conservation Commission.
It's so
How about
detailed.
you, Matt?
Me? Oh, you mean specifically? Oh, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
All right, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
7. All right. Those opposed, those abstained, motion passes 700. I will get that this month. All right. Harry, you're up. Fishing derby updates.
Okay, I got hold of Paul Lemire, and we had a little conversation about Chase Brook. And I forget the gentleman's name who owns the property
Mr.
over.
Ducharme,
Pardon?
Mr. Ducharme.
Okay. I just got the feeling that Paul has not talked to Mr. Ducharme because there was some sort of conversation about the Chase Brook needing to be dredged out. And unfortunately, one of the things I didn't do, which I need to do now, is get hold of Mr. Ducharme and see if he's going to actually do this. Because in my opinion, and this is strictly my opinion, if he's going to do that, that is going to take a considerable amount of time and effort and whatever.
How about a wetlands permit too?
Pardon?
A wetlands permit too.
Well, I mean, the whole 9 yards. And I figure it'll take at least a good year, maybe a year and a half.
When you went over there, I talked to you, I forget when, but we had both looked at that, and because it was, I think, July when we looked at it, that's why all the vegetation has grown up.
Yeah.
In May, I don't think, April, May,
Well,
it's not bad.
that's why I need to talk to him, because I'd like to have a conversation with him and say, based on what we see and what we're going to do, Chase Brook is perfectly acceptable to, just remember, these are trout, and half of them will probably jump over the dam to begin with.
Well, it needs to be cold and deep enough. That's like when you start out, and it should be in April,
And
May.
the other half will die off or get, anyway. So I need to do that. The other thing I did check into is, and Joan had mentioned this, is that we need to assign some money for the buying of the fish. Remember you said, well, you need to put it in the budget?
But I
Now,
thought Recreation was gonna run this.
pardon?
I thought Recreation Commission was gonna run this.
I thought Recreation wasn't going to do this at all.
I thought we were gonna do
This
work
is-
together.
Yeah, this was split 50-50
When did this come up?
the
last meeting.
I must have been asleep because I don't remember that at all.
Well, I remember I got permission to go and talk to the Recreation Commission, and that we were going to work on this it's going to be a co-commission activity.
Because remember you
Yeah,
talked
Matt
about,
will represent the Conservation Commission and discuss with Steve Gannon to represent the Rec Commission staff and host the event with Paul Lemire troubleshooting and sponsoring. Harry is for the Derby with the focus that we police the event better.
So what did you find out?
That they're interested and that they will assist us with it. And I think most of the discussion revolved around kind of policing it and making sure that the event itself was going to be more secure, and that they were in favor of working on this with us.
Okay, so should I get hold of someone or turn it over to them or?
I think everything's going together. It's just you get two groups. I think the Rec Commission and the Conservation Commission should have a meeting about this. Who's going to do what? Okay? Because Conservation Commission may change it, and the Rec Commission may change. Okay, so we got to get that communication in place. And then regarding the cost of the fish and whatever that may be.
Well, I have all that information. That's why I'm kind of
Yeah.
surprised that you talked to them and didn't let me know.
But it was discussed
in
in
the
the
meeting.
meeting.
Okay, I didn't read the meetings.
Okay. I think we got to get the buttons all in the right spot.
Well-
And we're there.
Now, do we want to put some money in the budget for the fishing derby?
I believe we should put it in. We also should put it, and they should put
How
some
much
in
you
too.
got there, Harry?
We should
Well-
establish a cost, and then we'll ask.
I have the cost right in front of me right now.
What is it, sweetie?
Okay, it would cost us approximately, let's see, 500, about, I'm going to put down $650 because the prices have gone up.
did you talk to the fish company or?
I talked to the fish company,
So he
and
didn't,
what it is for the, this includes a delivery fee and the quantity, it's any quantity. okay, with a minimum of 100 fish. And whatever we buy, the state will match it,
Right.
okay?
Which fish hatchery did you talk to?
I didn't take the name, I have the phone number, because I went through,
What's that phone number?
the number is 603-998-3915.
Okay.
And I went through the state. I went to New Hampshire Fish and Game through their fisheries department, and they gave me the number, okay? So I'd like a motion to put that into the budget.
So, well, we already made a motion.
What?
Well, I was gonna say, if we have this cost right now for the fishing derby, and if we've already talked to rec and they've agreed that they want to kind of split this with us, we can go 325 each.
But did you talk to them? Do they want to work
Well,
on this?
That was
Who-
my
who do
impression.
we-
Jason was,
That's what
Talk
he
to-
Matt just said he did.
and Jason was present for that. I don't know if they took a motion, but if they've already expressed their support, and
Harry's done a lot of work here.
Yeah,
I
he- I
think
think he should
Harry
be our
should be the
point
point
person.
person on the
Yeah,
fishing
right.
derby.
Yeah, from conservation.
okay,
So
Yeah.
have him get in touch with,
Steve Gannon at rec and see how you want to split
Okay.
it up.
and ask Paul what he's gonna sponsor too, because he said he would sponsor the whole.
Oh,
thing.
yeah, no,
Well,
he,
to me,
well,
sponsoring the whole thing includes
okay.
paying for the fish.
the impression I got from Paul Lemire is that he would contribute to
Prizes.
the prizes, but he wants us to sponsor. The other thing too is that I talked to him about a location because we're not sure about Chase Brook. And the other alternative that I've already somewhat investigated was a Londonderry Fish and Game Club pond, which is an excellent place because it's it's bigger than, believe it or not, a little bit bigger than Chase Brook, but it's a nice pond where you can go in there. So let me get hold of Chase Brook, find out what his thoughts are, and then we can decide on that. The other thing too, yeah,
I just want to put in that it was Paul Lemire who brought this to us, that he wanted.
no,
to
I
do
know,
this.
yeah.
So if we could have you as a point person for conservation, and then Steve can either be the point person for rec, but we need to keep Paul in that mix, in that whole.
Oh, I
conversation mix.
plan to.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
plan to avoid him at all.
No, I'm just saying he needs to be.
The other thing is that wherever our location is, okay, we're going to have to create a new permit. The last permit that we put up was in 2017.
You need a new permit every year.
Yeah.
Permit to release fish.
And and they already sent me the information for the permit, but I didn't do anything about it because I'm just not sure of the location.
No, it's still early.
Pardon?
It's early. You still,
No, I know. That's why I want to get hold of, I've got a brain cramp. What's his name again?
It's Gene Ducharme. I think it's
Does he live
75.
in the
Talent-
house that,
75 Talent Road, I think it is.
what's the address?
I think it's 75. I can get you his number.
Okay. And let me contact them and not ask them, because I don't think anybody's really asked them.
Yeah.
I think Paul has been talking to him.
Yes, now Paul mentioned that he talked to him, but it was about putting in the dredging of Chase Brook. And I think I'd like to talk to him about, if he's going to submit it, let him do whatever he feels he needs to do. And then we can make alternate plans. But if he's just thinking about it and we ask him, can we use Chase Brook again? That's great. Okay? So Joan, if you'll get me that information.
Harry, in regards to the dredging, is there an issue with that current pond right now where we couldn't stock it or couldn't have a fishing
From what
derby?
I went over in July, and of course the water is like pouring over.
Yeah.
It appears that there wouldn't be a particular problem. Remember, you're stocking trout, they're not going to stay there permanently.
They're gonna move upstream.
they'll move downstream.
No.
Critters will take care of whatever and all that sort of stuff. And what I kind of did is I kind of threw together a rough
Oh, I
agenda.
love it. You have the picture of Chase behind you. Look around, turn
You've been there.
around. Nice.
And I kind of threw a rough agenda, but I'll worry about that after we get, where we're going to physically have it, then we can go ahead and move forward on that. So I guess I'd like a motion well, my feeling is I think we should put in the amount in the conservation.
The whole amount, put the whole amount in there for now.
Pardon?
Put the whole amount. Okay?
Yeah.
If it's 600 some odd dollars, that's nothing.
I mean, if the rec,
If we can reevaluate after the fact. And
Yep.
yeah, if the rec committee wants to chip in, fine, then
They may do another part. You may come up with other expenses as you go forward. that they may-
And you run the risk of the budget committee pulling one part, the Brex part of the budget back, and we're left with half of it.
Mm.
Yeah, I think this is less risky by just
Good point.
It's
putting
always
it in
been,
one
this-
budget.
Yeah.
it's always been in this line.
Right. So you,
and as far as other expenses, just off the top of my head, if we go through with this, it would be the three things I listed almost immediately is bait, believe it or not, plastic bags, okay? And obviously the cost of the fish. Those are the three things that,
In a dunk tank,
they got a natural one right behind you.
when you throw the ball at the thing and the guy goes, never mind.
We can get plastic bag, like trash bags. What kind of plastic bag?
what I was thinking of is something similar to Ziploc bags or something like that.
We could have them all bring grocery store bags.
Because one of the thoughts, and
It'd be a
Okay.
bring your- it could be a
Pardon?
bring your own bag type thing, maybe.
well, that, we could
Reuse
do that.
grocery store
But
bags.
one of the things that I was thinking about, it, and I don't know if we'll ever do this, is that we could have some volunteers, have the people pay like 50 cents a piece, have their fish cleaned. And that would bring in
50 cents.
50 cents a buck. I don't, whatever.
One year we cooked them
Let's-
right there.
Let's, so
That sounds
did you make a
fun.
motion or
It's
did you ask for
operational.
one?
I asked for one.
All right.
For what? What do you want the motion to say?
For the
$650.
Oh, for the
$650 for the
$650.
fish.
Okay.
All right, I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, motion seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your hand. Aye. All right, those
So-
opposed?
The only
Those
other,
hold on, Harry. Those
Sorry.
abstaining?
Abstain.
All right, one abstention, motion passes 601. Yep.
this is only a comment, it has something to do with fishing. The last, say, I do a lot of fishing. And what I discovered was that the spots that I get, I've run into younger children. Okay? And their parents were there attempting to teach them how to fish.
Was this last time? I
No.
Well,
different
this
spot
happened to
says-
be one time I ran over to Dara Pond just to check it out. And there were two young boys over there that were totally, they didn't know what they were doing. But I've run into this circumstance, other places and other ponds.
okay.
And what I thought, and this is just me out loud, is maybe next year we can get with a rec committee and maybe have, because the state has a thing called Let's Go Fishing, but because of everything, things aren't working out. And it's kind of sad because these kids really did want to learn. And
I
That's a
think
great
that's a,
new idea.
I think that's a great idea. I think next year, one thing that we should consider is maybe doing 1, 2, or 3 community events during the year. That could be one of them. I think it would be really cool to have someone that knows how to do photography or bird watching
Yep.
to come in and do just a one-day little seminar on
We've-
how to do landscape or how to do wildlife photography or bird watching, things like that.
Linda?
At some of the Boy Scout events that I've been to, there's a large, long plastic sheet and these little fake fish, and you practice casting
Hmm.
on that sheet. And the kids just love that. It's a nice thing to teach them how
Well,
to cast
Up
without
in
hooks.
Discover Wild New Hampshire, that's one of the things they had up there too.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's at Let's Go Fishing Program, but that's just a sidelight
Right.
that I happen to mention.
Put that
You
on the
I got
docket for next year. If we can come up with a few of those at the end of this year, maybe we can make it happen.
So I'll get with the rec committee, we'll have another discussion. I'll get with Mr. Ducharme and find out if we can use the property. Actually, I kind of talked to the Londonderry Fish and Game Club already, and they don't seem to object to a fishing derby. So,
And the entrance to that is in Litchfield.
yes.
Lund.
London.
Next item is also you, Harry, the fishing line receptacle.
Yes. First of all, if you're going to dig any information up, use the state as the last resort. It was unbelievable. And I don't care. All right. What I discovered was this. Now, I want you to know, Jason helped me out. He brought me to the 20th century.
Plastic.
That's the item.
cool.
First of all,
PVC,
okay,
right?
number one, that is not a commercially available item. That was made up by the Chester Rod and Game Club, okay? And they made two of them. I actually went to Watson Recreation Area. Take a look at this. So what it is it is PVC pipe, okay, put together, and they put a 2x6 and then put a sign on. Now, the cost of the material was somewhere, they said about $500.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
It's more than the
Oh.
weather station.
We can MacGyver this.
Oh my God, I totally.
Well,
forgot about that.
and I understand that. I mean, that's what they gave me for cost. And I'm looking at it, and
Gold plated?
if you,
It's
no,
on
if
the
you saw
inside.
the size of
Does
the
it have
pipe and
electric on
everything,
it?
you could almost believe, because it's two of them. Okay, it isn't just one. Now, here's the real question. We want to, have people convinced that they need to carry out their trash, okay? And if we want to go forward this, are we breaking some sort of rule or something that we,
So I remember we've discussed this in the past with doing like a trash bin or two at Moore's
yes,
Falls.
I know.
And that does kind of invite,
Yeah.
now
Yes,
people
yes.
are not going to be taking out their trash, and now it's somebody's responsibility to go take care of that trash bin. So that is
That's a
the
large
Well,
opening.
yeah.
and
that is
when
an
I put this
undertaking.
together and I talked to the folks at Watson, I talked to a very nice lady over there who had my wife with me. She kept eyeballing anyway. And apparently
You're on
what they
TV.
do.
Go ahead.
I'm curious.
I'm not, you guys, it's
Oh, we parked-
8:30, come on, we're
Come on.
moving.
No, we parked in an area
on.
that I was unfamiliar with, and make a long story short,
Yeah.
what they do is they have an assigned person that goes in and actually empties this container. Now, what they have found is not only because of the size,
Yeah.
fishing line gets in there, cans, all sorts of objects.
Cigarette,
Okay.
You don't want to touch.
or are
And,
you saying you don't want to do it anymore, that?
well, it's up
not-
to you guys.
The
Yeah,
problem in Morris Falls is it's not, it's down there. I think the one in Chester is up by the pond. This is gonna be where no one's,
Well, both of them in Chester
probably
are
be
up by the
the-
ponds,
Yeah.
okay? This one one of them would be over in, Morris Falls, and the other would be Adara Pond.
But where would you put it at Moore's Falls? Would you put it down where they
By the
fish it
river.
behind
Yes.
St. Francis?
People fish all up and down
Yeah.
that coast,
Yeah.
everywhere. So finding a spot would also be pretty tricky because the entire coastline of that property is utilized.
Well, I mean, we'd have to put it on our own property,
Yeah.
wherever that would be. But I guess the question is, do we even want to think about it? Because, we believe in people carrying out what they bring in, Yeah.
This
I
is a
think
pretty
at
tough.
Dara Pond though, that would be a great thing because they're at the pond, they're on the beach,
Mm.
and that beach is trashed.
Well,
But
a lot
you
of
would
fishing
get-
line there at Dara Pond, a lot of fishing line.
Yeah, a lot of fishing lines and hooks and those plastic containers for worms and stuff. So
Yeah.
we might want to pass that on to Rec,
Right.
because they manage Dara.
And plus, it's pretty close for them to be able to get in there real quick.
Actually, when I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
over
yeah.
at Dara Pond, I saw where you guys had marked the turtle nest.
Yeah.
But I really didn't see, and unless somebody had gone and picked it up.
I was over there, picked up 4 big areas of fishing line.
Yeah, it's bad.
Oh, okay.
Not even to mention. the
So my gut feeling is, I don't think we want to put this at Morris Falls
I agree.
because it's going to take somebody to go down there and,
You're
It's
gonna
gonna be
need a
full.
hazmat.
Yeah,
suit
it'll be
to-
full.
To empty that thing.
It will be full.
Mm.
You put Sharpies in there.
Yeah. Oh my god. There's a separate container for that. That's a completely different issue. If famous last words here, it hasn't been that bad this year.
Where
We
the water
might.
goes
Because they
down.
cleaned
Yeah,
up
we
the-
might.
the homeless places up. some-
Yeah, I mean, we're getting some of that trash coming down the river because the river's high right now. But fortunately, for the past several weeks, couple
Be able to
months,
See the bank.
yeah, I haven't seen that much out of the way
I
of
know,
fishing
right?
lines in the trees
So,
or a
So-
fishing line left out.
So who wants to do it? Who doesn't? Is it a yay or
Well,
nay?
like I said, my gut feeling is Morris Falls, it would be very inconvenient to do this.
Yeah.
Bring the trash
If
in,
I'm
bring the
going to
trash out.
coordinate with the rec committee, I can bring it up to them.
Well, you're talking with them about the fishing
Yeah.
derby. Why don't you do that?
Yeah, and we can talk about that. So,
Yeah, all right. Next up, equipment purchase updates. So I don't know if Jason, you had anything.
Yeah,
other than-
I do. Real brief, I did talk to the rec commission. They were extremely interested in going in with us on the purchase of a tractor. They listed right off the top 10 things that they could use it on. Helping supporting the development of horseshoe pits and, bocce court, things like that, cleaning up there upon beach. They had a number of things that they felt that they could use it for. We checked if they could use impact fees for that purchase of the equipment, and it was determined that they can't use impact fees for the purchase of a piece of equipment that is going to be used for maintenance. But I think I just would like to table this for a couple of months because there's a few other avenues that they're exploring. And, maybe later on this fall, there might be some funds that free up for them. And I think we could revisit it then.
Okay.
But there was a lot of support on their end for the sharing of a piece of equipment.
I also did some digging since last meeting. The police department is looking at replacing their ATV out there with a side-by-side. We didn't really get into the details about how wide they wanted it, but I looked at some of the compact ones that would probably be more useful for them, under 50 inches wide. And I went up to Nult's in Manchester to see what they had, and they're threadbare right now with everybody's buying everything that's outdoor related.
Yeah.
And they were running for about between $8,500 and $9,500 for these smaller machines. Split that in half with the police department. And then I looked at DR Mower makes tow behind mowers, which go for about between $2,600 and $4,600. It's like its own little mower right there, and it just attaches to the ATV, and it has a little hand operated lever that can adjust the deck. I would say that we keep this as an option, open as an option as well. I'll talk more with the police department and see what their timeline is, because I don't really want to step on Jay or anybody else if we're still pretty adamant on the tractor option. But I think that this is another avenue for us that would kind of check a lot of the boxes that we look for if we decide to go with getting a piece of equipment.
What is this called now? Side by side?
It's called, it's a side by side. The Honda. These are Honda brand. I mean, there's a couple different options with these, but I have been.
If it's something we can split with them for cheap, I think that would be okay, but I would be concerned that the utility of a side-by-side, it doesn't even compare to the utility of a tractor. I mean, you can drive tools down into the woods with this thing to build a trail, but you can't actually build the trail with it.
Well, so, but the option that we still have freed up is that we can rent equipment from Hudson Grand Rental. And I feel like if we get a strictly a loader front tractor, you just have the loader front, you want to get other attachments and things like that, then you have to go out and get those. But you can get super compact machinery there and with any kind of attachment you want. And it's only like a couple $100 for a few hours to use, because I don't really foresee us using a piece of equipment like that very often. So I don't think that getting a quick rental every once in a while would be that out of the question, if we want to get that too. But that's kind of up to everyone else's thinking. But
I'm gonna go with Jason. Let's hold back on this right now. Explore it a little bit more. Okay?
Be sure we get what we want. We're not gonna bite the apple that many times on a
Yep.
big piece of equipment. I'd like to see one of these side by sides. I've never even seen one. I'd like to see one. I'd like to see this thing. I'd like to see it being used,
okay, we can do that.
just because I think it's really interesting. I just don't know anything about them.
So the pink house across the street
Yep.
has a tractor sitting out in the driveway. That's orange, which is pretty close to the same one that I spec'd out.
Okay.
It has a bucket on the front of it,
She said she'd come and turn over land for me at the garden too. Amber did.
has a bucket on the front of it, and it's got a 3-point hitch on the back of it where you can attach any of these things to it. That's that one. The side by side, there's a lot of these running around town. Rich LaSalle's has a side by side.
Yep.
Oh, that's what he came to the conservation
Yep.
garden meeting in?
Yep.
Okay.
You can also put equipment on these and register them so that they're road legal. Wouldn't even have to trailer it. You
Yeah,
just
I
drive
think,
it right to
I
the
think
site.
Rich is able to take his out on the road.
I've seen people do that in Londonderry and Litchfield.
Okay, so now I have seen one. So that's better.
So yeah, let's revisit this when let's see what Rec's options are, and then I'll check with the police department's timeline.
So what
see-
else would you use this for though, Matt? You would use it for building trails?
You could use it to widen the trail if you needed to get the DR mower in, because that might be able to kind of, if that other one that we have conks out, then we could still use this. You could use it to get hand tools into the woods. You could use it to get trash out, in and out. I think that this is a single cylinder engine. The one that is out there is a single cylinder. It had like a 3-gallon tank, and that was good for like 75 miles. It was good for a long spell of time.
What's wrong with the machine out there?
I'm not particularly sure. I remember the carburetor gave out while they were doing training on it, but it was sitting unused for a couple of years.
You're
So
talking about the brush hog?
no,
No,
we're talking
no,
about the ATV.
ATV.
They haven't used that long.
Right. It was sitting for a while.
It
Why
can
don't
be
we get it
fixed.
fixed?
Get it fixed.
Because I'd have to talk with Kevin. I believe that they did bring it to Devin Quinn. I think he went to go look at it, but I think there was an issue that I didn't follow up with them on what it was with that carburetor, because it looks
you
like
can-
it's still not functional.
You can pull a carburetor off and get a new one for $50 and
We got
put
it.
in new fuel lines in your.
Yeah.
I'll talk with the chief and see what the issue is, and
not a
we'll
Ford.
see if that's fixable.
Because it seems like this would fit a
Sorry.
lot of different objectives that the ATV could fit too. I mean, this has different uses than the tractor would have as well.
Right.
So I mean,
They're,
it seems
they're
like
two different tools.
totally different tools. And we're trying to kind of mush them together and say, do we want this or this? Well, we might want that and that.
Okay, I'm just looking
Yeah,
into
Yeah,
that.
let's
Okay.
okay.
All
Let's
right.
wait. All right. Next up, Musterfield inspection and possible trail. So let's see, it was Luana, Diane, Joan, and I went and did a property inspection of the Musterfield. It's very it was rainy, it was cold, but we made do.
That's fine.
It was shortly after Jason and I had neatened up some of the boundaries of vegetation. That kind of clear field is looking pretty good. It's the boundaries on pretty much all sides of that property are very densely covered in vegetation. But as we were going south up the ridge towards the apartments, it became pretty apparent that you could easily get a trail in there. It would just be a couple swipes with that brush mower. It was relatively light vegetation, and I think it will be pretty straightforward and easy to do. It would be kind of
Just don't get too close to the edge.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there
Feel
was
There's a
Rolling.
lot of room.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
so we
I
we
drove a
walked
tractor
through-
up there, a big one.
Yeah, you could you could totally bring in a big piece.
And
of
I
wood.
a
did.
tractor everywhere.
That John Deere did a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of trees are out of the way down there. You notice that still?
Yeah, it's still pretty open. Yeah, right.
We
So
looked
it's-
at a lot of bittersweet, so there's gonna be a lot more trees going down if we can't
Yeah.
fix our bittersweet problem, because those
Bittersweet's
bittersweet-
killing everything.
it's killing them. It's, I
Everything.
mean, we saw one bittersweet vine that was how thick was that now?
couple inches. It was
Oh,
Yeah, it was huge. And the
Along the
tree
river, it's like
that it was
yeah.
around was dead. It's wicked sad.
Don't get Harry into talk, his bittersweet talk.
All
He's
right,
got
all
a
right,
good
we're
way
gonna
to-
stop talking about that.
So I'm not sure.
We want to have I'd like to propose a motion that we put that trail in.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of sort of. I don't want to say there already, but it's so clear and open. It's just a matter of just kind of getting it down
Just
to
to
the
go,
ground. It's a big open
just to go
clearing.
straight south.
Yeah.
Yep.
So go
Just
straight
come
That's where
south
you were
here and
going
just
through.
and loop. You kind of like make a little cul-de-sac or something at the
You
end.
could do
You
that.
loop. Yeah.
You can make a loop and that whole thing come around because there is a loop up there that I made. Okay, to go around in there,
One thing,
down near the point.
One thing that Steve, so this is bigger picture, that Steve Normanton was talking about. So, you know, we've got the Parker Park trails here, and then there's the end of the Musterfield right there. And Steve Normanton suggested to us when Diane and I were talking to him that we connect trails, go through his property and end up here. Obviously, you have to. get
Someone needs to
permission
talk
go
to
on that piece
Steven.
of-
Yeah.
piece of property, and you could almost get a 2 mile, I think it was 2 miles round trip going from here all the way through here, across up there and back down. I mean, that's like 5-year plan. And you still have to contend with this, but yeah, I like the idea.
So Diane, did you make a motion?
I would, and I'd like to make two motions. The first motion is I'd like to make a motion to do the trail on the Musterfield that we walked during inspection.
Okay. All right. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Those opposed? Those abstained? Motion passes 7-0-0. We didn't want that ADA trail. All right, what was your-
Ticks up there.
My
There's
other
a lot of
motion
ticks.
is
John?
that
Not too bad.
Jay approached Stephen
That's
regarding the apartment?
regarding the apartment.
Stephen's mother owns that.
Not Stephen.
So I think it's Stephen we would talk to though, isn't it? About
Mhm.
that. How old is Stephen's mother?
She has mentioned to him that she doesn't want to see it developed. I mean, developed as far as, development. But she might be,
Just for
Why
the
don't we,
past.
I'll ask Steve. I see him all the time.
All right, you want to?
I'll talk to Stephen. Yep.
Okay. I don't know if we need a motion for that.
No, but so it would be pretty unobtrusive. We would not want to be seen by
Yeah, it
by
looks
the
like you're.
apartments and.
Oh, no, it's no problem. I know where it is.
It looks like you'd be
Jody's house
pretty
doesn't
far
go to the
back away
river.
from them.
So
So,
her house doesn't go to the river.
so yeah, you
then
talk
find
to
out what we would
Steve
need to
and,
do
and
next.
his mother and see if we can
I'll
move
talk to him.
that forward.
Yep.
Good idea. Morris Falls parking inspection and possible trail there too. So again, there was another property inspection, and that was Jason, Harry, Diane, and myself a couple weeks ago. It was looking pretty good. I walked up the to the northern boundary there. We walked along the fence, and then we went down towards the river. Down towards the river on that other side of the stream there, our northern boundary is such a nice spot. It's
nice
don't
over
get
there.
out there
Yeah,
too
it's
much.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really nice. But we also on that portion of the property from the fence back, there's kind of a hill down into the vegetation, and I think Jason's idea was that you go through the grassy field there under the power lines, and then head west towards the trolley track down, as a possible trail that we kind of.
What do you mean? You You go down the field and then you already head west. What are you talking about? Oh, to go to the northern
Yeah,
boundary?
go to
Is
the
that-
northern boundary, excuse me. So, yeah, go through the field under the power lines,
Oh, oh, oh,
basically,
oh.
and then head west. Too
Further
far.
south,
Too far.
south.
South, yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Kind of trace from
That
your
dot is-
right to the left. There, like over there, the power lines.
Oh, okay.
The power, I think, well,
Oh, you were
that's.
saying, okay, yeah, because there's a bunch of ideas we floated.
We had a
Yeah.
ton, we
Oh,
did
yeah,
have
we
a
did have a
ton.
few.
So
That
A,
was-
B, C, or D.
Yeah, that was.
So you were saying this one where when we get down to the end here, maybe just have a trail coming up this way?
Yeah, kind of. I can't. That was the one I remember us talking about.
I was talking about this one, at some point in time.
Yeah, you're talking about a bridge there over the stream
That's-
It's
too.
not, it's actually not as big as I remember the last time that I went across that. I thought it was bigger. It
It's,
almost
it's
looked like it
narrow.
had been
It's- yeah,
filled
it's
in.
narrow when you get across when
Yeah.
you go north on the trolley track.
Yep, it is.
It
But
chokes in that area a little bit.
And also that upper field has fishing game easement on it.
yeah, we'd have to talk to them first, and I would like to just follow up and make sure because the guy who inspected it said that there was some hognose habitat.
Right.
Want to make sure we're not infringing on any wildlife before we jump into that one.
That would be kind of cool.
Hog nose. I have
Snake.
color picture if you'd like one.
Yeah, so we'll
Could you
definitely have
hold it up
to
so everyone can
reach
see
out
it?
to them first. I think it will be okay, but I just like to double check first.
Okay.
Well,
before we jump into
and also, don't forget, we got that piece because of a wetlands violation. So there are wetlands there that
Yes.
were disturbed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely need to do some homework on that one more than the.
It's a
Wait till the
gorgeous
fall
view,
and See
though.
what it looks like.
It's really nice.
It is a very nice spot. You get a
Yeah.
great view across into Merrimack. It's through power lines, but
The Senko
Those
take
are
what you
really
can
nice.
get. Yeah, you get the nice Cinco bean.
So you're gonna reach out to,
I'll reach out. I'm forgetting his name. I have his contact information from his report he did in the mailbox. I'll reach out to the to Fish and Game and their easement enforcer. But the inspection otherwise went pretty well. I think the property's in pretty good shape. Otherwise, going to monitor for some trash coming down the river in the coming days. And I did put.
Every time it rains, you get some.
Oh yeah, it's
oh,
crazy.
it's so high,
And
high now. We
I-
haven't had it this high. I never remember seeing it.
Is
so
the
high.
rock the big rock? Can you see the rock now?
Yes,
You can
barely.
see it, but just barely.
It's come down a little bit
Um,
the other day.
and-
The benches
Has
were
it?
covered at the
You can,
access.
I will tell you, you can put a boat up through there.
Mhm.
Okay, you gotta stay on the Merrimack side, and you can go up through that and pass those.
Hmm.
That we.
The boat.
I
I did
I
got-
see
saw,
a boat.
I saw kayakers trying to go up it. They were in the same spot for like a half hour, and they were leaning up against Old Hildreth for
I
rest.
said it with a boat.
But the
Right.
final thing regarding Morse Falls with the parking there. So we kind of discussed it in the past. There's no real parking rule up there, and so I noticed that people were kind of parking all over the place, parking in different orientations, and it was getting all over the place. So I just put up a couple signs that just said "Park parallel with 3A." Because that's going to maximize parking and make sure nobody gets parked in there. So that's not a big free for all.
Head in pocket only. Here.
Yeah. And we discussed that last year, and I sprayed parking lot lines, but
Yeah.
with the gravel getting mixed up, it lasted like a month at most.
All
It
this
was
rain?
not that long.
That was
But
last
since
year.
putting up the signs, I haven't noticed anybody parking all over the place. It's been very organized now.
Good.
All right. Working with the police department with wildlife. So the police department, I talked to Officer Josh Flynn. He responded to a hawk that was, I believe, it was struck by a car and it was stunned, and it needed to go up to Wings of Dawn to be rehabilitated. And kind of since I've also been asked about wildlife before, whether we're going out protecting a turtle nest, just kind of talking to the police department and seeing if they'd be interested and they can reach out to us if they need assistance, whether it's, if they find some wildlife that's an endangered species and they want help submitting a RARP report for it, something like that. If we'd be interested in doing that, if anybody wants to assist with that. I helped a woman who had a bird's nest fall down out of a tree on her property. The whole nest and the babies went down. And I exchanged some contact information with her for a rehabilitator, and I gave her some advice on how to put that nest back up and everything. But I think it's something that we should kind of work in more. I'm not sure if anybody else agrees if we should
Yeah.
provide support, but yeah.
Yeah.
I did reach out to
absolutely.
the police chief and say, of course, anything conservation related, reach out to us. But if, it's wildlife and stuff like that,
I
We'll
was,
help how
I
we
was
can.
impressed that they took the red-tailed hawk up there. That was good.
yeah.
Josh is a good
And
kid.
if it's like a weekend thing and I don't have a lot going on, I'd be willing to transport animals if the police department have something they need to do instead. So
I've taken the turtle down to Tufts Medical Center in Massachusetts.
yeah.
So I didn't make it, but tried.
So next up, leave no trace. So I talked with Jason. He had
What was it? What was the item, the agenda item?
leave no trace.
Okay.
So we have up on our signs the rules for the conservation areas. There's no littering, but I think that we should probably kind of start advertising and educating leave no trace to people as well.
Well, don't they have signs like that at the river access?
Yep.
Those
They
little
do.
signs are great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna purchase a couple for the river access. A couple got either torn down or the river came through and wiped them off their sign or the signpost. So I'll pick up a few of those, Matt, while I'm doing that.
Okay. Do you have a cost for that
They're like $20
each? Okay.
Yeah.
So you're
We'll
gonna
figure it out later.
get the leave no trace signs?
One of the do not entry signs, the one that faces the river, was off the post. I just leaned it up against the post.
Yep. So I can take care of those, Matt. I mean, we still have some funds from our calendar thing, and I was gonna buy them for Moore's Falls, and they're not that expensive. So
Okay.
we'll just take care of that. Just let me know what type of signs you want. I mean, we can probably actually get a couple of real signs for the parking lot as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah. They're it's white text on a brown background at the river access, right?
Mhm.
Something like that. I don't think we need to.
There's, if you go online, there's something called campgroundsigns.com, and you just type in anything, leave no trace, and there's 5 signs that come up, and they're anywhere between $15 and $30 a piece.
Yeah, I've seen steel signs like that on Amazon too. I mean, they're out there. Not too expensive.
So would you put them just at Moore's Falls?
I think for now, if we want to get a couple, maybe we have another property in mind. I don't know. That's a good question. But I feel like we should probably get those signs out there and more literature about leave no trace, because I feel like leave no trace is not very well understood.
Well, there's one at the river access. I think it says, doesn't it say pack in, pack out, something like that?
There are 2 signs. One says pack out what you bring in, something like that. And then there's another one that does say leave no trace. And it's one of the brown ones.
You're covered.
We need to do some public service, leave no trace
Yeah.
things that we can do on WhatsApp
It's
too.
not.
You know what was cool about the river access is when you walk down the little trail to the river access, we probably have like 3.
It's like Burma shave signs.
Yeah, we got 3 or 4 little signposts there. And so you're reminded of several things when you walk down there.
Yeah.
And maybe we should, think about that as they're, leave one up at the top, but as they're going down through there, maybe put a post or 2 on.
When they leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Did you remember to
before
bring your trash? If not, go back and get it.
It's like going to south of the border, when you're driving down south and getting to South Carolina. Pepe says, pull over in 100 miles, pull over in 99 miles. We have fireworks in 98 miles.
That is it for new business. So old business, ArcGIS mapping and trail signage. So that was Andrew's pet project. Andrew is still on the board, but he's gonna be out for a few months. So I think he kind of handed over the permissions to you, Jason. I'm not sure how familiar you are with that.
Very.
Oh, you are? Okay. That specific software. I just want to double check. But yeah, if we want to coordinate
Well,
with
he
Lee,
does.
we can work on getting that up and running.
Okay.
Can we, when you get it up and running, can we do a live demo here
Yeah.
in the meeting? Because I have no idea how to use it.
Yeah,
And
it's
I'm on trails all day, every day.
Yeah,
and
we
I
can
have
do
no
that.
clue
You
how to
don't need it because you know where you are.
Sometimes I do.
Like the guy, like the Texas guy on that
Sometimes.
Washington, that guy?
The live demo, that would be really cool.
so. And the next up was meeting twice monthly. I think what was proposed instead for this evening is that we discuss meeting earlier.
I like earlier.
So yeah, it sounds like at this point that's a better option. and I've heard 6:30 tossed around as a good time, so we get a half-hour head start on what we're doing. I agree. Whether we meet twice monthly or whether we move earlier, we need more time.
Your
Just
agenda-
always have that ready.
The group is going good. It took longer to get through some of the stuff, and we're getting that stuff together now. Much
Yeah.
better. We're not, and some of the stuff we discussed tonight, like the minutes and stuff like that, that's something we should have had done.
Well, we're caught up.
already.
We're caught up now.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
all
we're
caught
caught up
up,
with some
and
stuff.
that's gonna make things even shorter.
But 6:30 is a good idea.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we move the Conservation Commission meetings to 6:30 on the first Thursday of each month,
I'll second.
subject to being able to do that by LCTV. And we just got that approval. So that motion is to start at 6:30. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, can we have discussion? What are we gonna do when the school board pushes us out on Thursdays?
Budget? or
No,
school
budget
board?
committee, budget
So
committee.
I
Sorry.
think, kind of dependent on LCTV's capabilities, we could go back to meeting in the back room. That's a little snug. If the fire department is available, the new conference room, we can do that, but I
Well, we
think,
wouldn't be on TV anymore. This is
but
the only
they have
TV
a,
room.
well, no, they have a camcorder.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah.
right, right.
I don't, as long as we're able to record the meetings, there's space for the public, it's,
The back room is not really a
yeah,
good
I guess it's not
option.
that great. Let's reach out to the fire department. I'll reach out to
Okay.
Chief Freitzel and see if we can move into there. But the last time we went in there, it was awkward because nobody moved the seats, so we were just sitting in different aisles, looking around at each other. So
We only tried it
we might
once.
have to. We'll have to move some tables around prior to us meeting in there, so that it's more.
I wanted to bring up a suggestion.
Sure.
The only time of year that we run into this is when the budget committee gets involved more, correct?
Yeah, but that's like September, October, November, December.
Why
Okay.
don't they move to
Why
the
don't-
auditorium?
I think there are issues on cables and
That's a tough one down the auditorium. Yeah, it is.
You need
The
two
other
people
question
then.
is,
Why are we getting bumped?
why can't they go at the firehouse?
Yeah, why can't they go to the firehouse?
This is our meeting time.
And the other thing I was thinking, why are we always going to meet on a Thursday? Maybe there's an off day in between and we could take that day and still give them what they needed.
It's pretty, well, it's pretty tight on,
well,
you know, school board was here the other night.
so you
Planning
see-
board, selectmen, planning board, school board, ZBA, second Wednesday, and they moved to
But
Monday.
let's look at the agenda. I'll talk to Troy about this, okay? Who's going to meet when and stuff like that. And maybe there is something instead of moving around. You know?
Yeah, as long as we can pick an
He's not home.
independent day, because so that we're
A
consistent,
consistent
right?
day.
Because I don't think that we
Consistent
should.
day, I like that
yeah.
too. But I think that other people, if they want to use our time, this is our time. And
We
we
had
have
for
this,
years.
we
Yeah.
have this room, and I don't think that we should be getting bumped from it.
So
You've got
it's
space over there now, you're saying.
so the budget
But then-
committee
but
shifts
then
there.
They need more time, more space.
How is that working? The budget committee meets.
They meet every Thursday when they're in budget season.
Okay. Okay. I'll also reach out to Andrew Cutter. Just make sure we're on the same page with them and see what they think as well.
You have to remember that we're also conducting legal business. You know, we're having developers
Yeah.
come in
Yeah,
here.
we have to be.
And when we get bumped to that little room, I've seen that little room before.
We can't go
Yeah,
back there.
No,
Yeah, that was
it's
terrible.
that I shouldn't have even said. I wasn't thinking about how small it was. Our only option should basically be the fire station, meeting room.
And it's,
But our
Conference room.
option is here, and I think that if they need time, that unless there's a really good reason why they bump us, I think that they can find accommodations as
Yeah.
well.
We do get pushed a lot.
We do,
We get
and we
pushed.
just go.
The school
We
board's
just
pushed
go.
us out too. We've actually met outside in the parking lot
Yep.
for a period of time.
Well,
so.
So they couldn't use the school. Remember, they used to use the school.
The-
It was Campbell High School.
they used to use a room in the school for the
Oh,
budget
there's a
committee.
room?
It was a room, yeah.
Yeah, the
You could,
superintendent's
it was in
office.
televised in a room.
It's, we'll find a home, but we should have a home.
Yeah, I'll definitely.
Why did they stop using that room? Anybody know?
I think it was about, do you know if it was about cable?
Russ.
My fault. We couldn't get into maintaining the equipment eventually failed, and being unable to get into maintaining the equipment, and it's failed, we can't do anything for them.
Well, can you use portable equipment there at the
We
school?
could. But we could also use portable equipment at the fire station in that nice cozy meeting room they have.
I know, I'm just thinking, hopefully COVID won't come back as bad, because then the fire department want us to go over there.
Right.
Yep.
But they do have much better lighting at the fire station than
Right.
at the high school. So
Right.
the cameras like the rooms with good lights.
Okay.
We're squabbling over places to meet. Sandown, I think it is. They have meetings every once a year in a barn. They-
That sounds okay.
And by torchlight or lantern light. So
Maybe that's historic.
yeah.
So our next meeting is September 2nd. So
Yep.
do we feel comfortable saying our next meeting will be at 6:30? Make a motion that our next
Well,
meeting.
we haven't
Second.
finalized that motion. It's been
Oh.
there's been a motion and a
Well,
second. We just went through discussion. So any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of moving our meeting time to 6:30 signify by saying aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
All right. Those opposed, those abstain. Motion passes 7-0-0. Is there any public input?
I
We
have
could- we
some
could get-
input as an alternate.
Oh yeah, sure.
An area of the Merrimack River from basically where Anheuser-Busch starts down to the Nashua, down to the end of their property, basically. Used to be no hunting for geese and was posted.
Right.
High water took those signs away. And over the last couple of years, hunters have been out there. I know that's not Litchfield's responsibility, that's Merrimack's responsibility.
It's fishing game. It's fishing game.
It is fishing game, but Merrimack is the one who posts that
Okay, I was,
area.
when Stephen Calloway's father was in the legislature, Leon Calloway, went to the legislature and got that passed, because they used to sit in the old canal system lock and shoot
Yes.
towards your house.
Exactly.
And they got that posted. So you should be calling fishing game.
I have, and they told me that they can't do anything about it, that it's the town of Merrimack that has to post that. Unless it's posted, they can't do anything
I
about
think there
it.
was a law passed for that.
Check
Um,
your homework.
No, because
Or
I've got
call
the same
Merrimack.
problem with the Sauhegan, behind the golf course. And,
The activity's really beefed up over the last couple of years, and now I'm hearing chatter amongst hunters that they're planning to be out there.
Have you
this
called
year.
Merrimack?
I haven't. I was wondering if I could go ahead and do that, being on the Conservation Commission. I didn't know if I should bring it up
You're doing it as
here.
as a homeowner, as
Yeah, I
a
think you're doing
landowner.
that as a citizen, not as a
You
Yep.
can do
member
that.
of the town.
because at one
Okay.
time we,
And I
Still think it's
also
fishing game.
wanted to bring it up here because I didn't know if other people knew about it as
Yeah.
well.
yeah,
Sure.
because over behind the golf course, at one time we put up blaze orange signs along the riverbank saying, hey, there are houses here. Because people would shoot toward us.
Yes,
Are you talking about in this area? You're near Riverview, right?
yes.
Are you talking about over here?
No, they're
is
on
where
they're on
issue
the
is?
river.
Excuse me. Yeah, specifically from, I believe there might be one more small island up here. Yes, this one right here. Used to be posted, it was right out there, and the area went all the way down. I believe it ended right around here, or maybe even a little further south.
That's
And
because of the home.
in the last couple of years, this is the old Cromwell Lock here.
Yeah. They'd
There's
sit in
been
there.
A lot of activity right over here, and it's sure, it's shot, so it's not going that far. But it is kind of not so good when you live right here.
Yeah.
And they're coming
And
at you.
also the Clydesdales are housed right up here, or is it over here?
Yeah, that looks like the plant
You
right
can
there.
Oh, yeah, there it is, because you can see it across the river when the trees are, when the leaves drop. You can see the horses right there too, and it's not always a shooting for weeks after a mate is shot. The goose will circle and call for like up to 2-3 weeks. afterwards.
That's terrible.
So it's a combination of the two. But if there's anything that we can do to,
But you're saying that was posted, no hunting before,
was-
and the river took the
yeah, it
signs
was
down?
always posted right on this island, the top island, and that island is covered with shells too. Shotgun shells if you
Oh,
go
they
out
meant
there.
like oyster shells.
No, shotgun.
No,
Kevin was out there back in the day, probably.
because further upriver, like I said, in the south, we're faced with the same thing. They'll shoot, some of them will try to shoot up and down river, but a lot of them will shoot across, and you can hear it. If you're in your backyard, you're getting peppered.
I love the idea of hunting. I support hunting, but just with the houses right in here and also
I
with
agree,
the
yeah.
Clydesdales right over here,
Yeah.
it's just,
It's too
it's not a good
congested.
Something's gonna
situation.
happen.
And who, sorry to go into this, but who posted that? You said Fish and Game?
I called Fish and Game. I spoke with Justin and one other agent there, and they told me that it needs to be posted, and I should contact Merrimack for that. That it wasn't Fish and Game that was posting it. That it was the town of Merrimack.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think you should be able to reach out as a resident,
Yeah.
private resident, and bring that to their attention and have them.
And why not a Conservation Commission member?
Well, I think you can say that, but I'm
Pardon?
not seeing what the.
It carries a little bit more weight.
I'll check the vertical files and see if I have anything back.
Gotta go back in time.
Right.
Jimmy's way.
I know that was passed.
Okay, if you want to go first.
Okay, yeah. So I have one more piece of old business that, to bring forward. I'm gonna do it as quickly as I possibly can. On Saturday night, Jay and I attended Agrarian Commons signing of their new, agreement with Monadnock Land Trust, where they have transferred their ownership and management. They had a really nice farm table.
Normanton Farm.
No, it's Steve Normanton's farm. They had a really nice dinner and stuff, and I got a chance to meet all the new members of the board of Agrarian Commons, and they were really nice people. They're very excited about the garden, and it's an awesome opportunity to us to pair with this really excited group of very young people. Actually, a lot of them are really young, all the way up to my age and beyond, but that are excited about the land and excited about conserving and preserving land, and might be interested in maybe getting more land in our town. So it's really nice to have met them. They're very excited about the garden. They want to come and work in the garden. I met with the lawyer there. We've been held up in the garden because the land trusts didn't change papers as soon as they thought they were going to. So we've been held up waiting for that lease because some of the changes that we're going to be making on the land need to have that lease done first.
If I was slated to go, but due to a family obligation earlier in the afternoon, I wasn't able to make it. However, I will be meeting with Mr. Normanton at some point in the coming weeks to get a recap on all that was covered. If anybody else is interested in coming,
It was
seeing
really
that.
interesting. They went through the whole they went through the whole history of their land trust in Litchfield, but they also talked about who they are and what they want to be. And it was just a really interesting group of people.
But the bottom line is that we're gonna, Diane, right? The town is going to lease where
of that
the
land, where the
community
garden
garden is, and also be able to lease this entire area back here.
Mhm.
And that will then be covered under the town insurance.
Yep.
And they're,
Once we sign the lease.
as of right now, they're going to allow us to build a couple of bridges across the brook so that we can actually make a loop trail system up here.
Yeah.
2 telephone
So-
poles.
It's been a big
And Warren
project, and I really wanted to see us get the trail crew involved in helping out with that. And I think that we should use them for the new paths that we're talking about too, to try and get them involved with that too.
Yeah.
I know they don't seem to be a lot of work for the one at the Musterfield, but it's kind of nice to work with other boards in town to bring everybody in and get to know each other and stuff and work together. And if, it shows that the trail crew is willing to work on any trail, not just the trails that they want to ride on. So I kind of would like to see them more involved. Anyway, that was my quick Algerian.
So I have one quick
Aquarium.
thing.
And I have two things.
Okay.
Sorry.
5
Just
minutes each.
so, just to be quick, I've been in contact with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. They are very interested in acquiring land in town to establish a wildlife refuge that would be named the Great Thicket Refuge, and this would be used to protect the cottontail, New England cottontail rabbit, other endangered species. They are looking for scrubland and young forest. So they are very enthusiastic and interested about breaking into the Merrimack Valley. So I'd like to kind of work with them and see how, we can be of assistance to them, and we can work together on, conserving land in town, because I think whether it's federal, local, state.
How much are they, this came up a few years ago, and I had cleaned off my desk and put this paperwork in the mailbox. Matt thought it just came, but luckily he picked up on it. How much have they acquired further south? Anything?
I haven't talked to them about their other acquisitions for this specific refuge. They're looking for about 500 acres. And yeah,
That's
it's
no small feat.
right. And they will acquire land outright, or they will buy the easement. They have the funds. They wanted me to let everyone know that they're eager. I would describe that as their attitude.
Mrs. Calloway's piece would be an interesting piece for that
But-
conversation.
That's what I had for this evening. I thought that was
That's a
exciting
cool
news.
one.
That's pretty cool. I think
Got
that'll be.
enough bunnies?
We'll see. We'll get some more.
Nobody's yet.
All right, Michael, what you have?
Yeah, I just have two quick things. Just want to let everybody know, I just renewed my application with the local Merrimack River Advisory Committee, which meets in Nashua. Just quickly, the committee is comprised of the lower Merrimack towns, Litchfield, Merrimack, Nashua, in the city of Nashua, and Hudson. There are for Merrimack, Nashua, Hudson, there are usually two representatives that represent the town, either from conservation or the planning board. Since I've been on the local advisory committee for Litchfield, I've actually been the only one who represents Litchfield. So I didn't know if there's any interest from members here, if anyone would be interested in being another member of the Lower Merrimack Local River Advisory Committee. You have to go to the New Hampshire Rivers Program. I think it's a DES website, or you can get it on the National Regional Planning Commission website. But the application is there if you're interested in applying. That said, that's just something I wanted to throw out.
Or anybody from the public as well.
Anybody in the public, anybody from the town can do it. But knowing that, being part of the Conservation Commission, if anyone else is interested, you're welcome to join.
And the other thing, if you can just put that on the website, Litchfield website, okay? If anybody wants to join this group, and
Yeah.
do something.
We can advertise.
Yep.
Okay. The second thing I have on August 17th, Matt knows about this. The planning board is having a special workshop. The workshop is dealing with permitted uses and our zoning ordinances. We're reviewing those. Rick Charbonneau, Morgan Hollis, Jim Petropoulos are going to be coming in to do a presentation. Also, I believe Attorney Andy Perlman might be there as well. But I did open it up to conservation because I know we have an interest in, acquiring land. So if anyone else besides Matt, I think Matt said he was going to be at the meeting, but if there's anyone else who would like to come to that discussion, you're welcome. And that meeting is August 17th here at 7 p.m. in
At
Town
7.
Hall. So,
Let's skip the weather report for this month. We can archive
wet.
it next month. What's that?
It's wet.
Yeah, I think Manchester set a record for the wettest July, and we also had smoke from out west coming back, and it got hazy. But we can discuss that because next month we will have our own station here, and we can record the data. I can also go over this past month as well. I believe we have a non-public,
Just a 2-minute,
quick
2-minute
quick
update.
non-public session. So
And I
a
don't
roll.
have the form. Does anybody have the form for non-public?
No.
I think it's in we can go grab one real quick once we go into non-public.
Usually have all
I
that.
make a motion
stuff
that we
lined
go
up.
into non-public.
I think this is a roll call
You're all cool.
vote, right?
Well, you can make the motion, then you have to take a roll call
okay.
vote.
All right. Motion. Do we have a second?
Time out for 1 second. I just had one comment. budget.
Yeah.
The budget season is coming up.
Mhm.
Are we going to discuss that at some point in time?
Yes. Let's
That's a good idea.
let's yeah, how about everybody determines what kind of things that are a priority for conservation budget, and let's discuss that next month. Let's put that on the agenda, and we'll go over what our priorities are. And then
I
we can
should
go
know
from
what
there.
my lease is gonna be too. I'm
Yeah,
thinking it's gonna be
yeah.
about $100 a year.
Right.
but-
Try and think short term, long term. And we'll discuss it next month.
I have
All
to
right.
I
abstain.
second Kevin's motion.
All right, you second. All right, let's do a roll call of members. Let's go from Jason to Michael. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Diane?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, we're in non-public. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Take care.